Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live, talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynn@pghcitypaper.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hey, how you doing? Good morning to you. It's a Monday in May 14th to be exact. And welcome to the program, which is, as always, a blank slate, waiting to be filled in by you, me, anybody, through discussion, emails, phone calls, whatever. Okay. That wasn't a sigh. I've really done pretty good, not, sighing in your ear in the last few months. It is my pledge to myself, although I think that was a little bit of a sigh. I just want a correction. It seemed to, or just a. It's not a correction. It's just an addendum to a conversation we had last week. We were talking about the way women stand when they're being photographed, with their hands on their hips and that sort of like model pose. And I had said something like, yeah, you just see, I don't remember. I never have stood like that for a photo. And remember, and now when you look at the scene column, which is the, what used to be the society column in our local paper, but God, Colin, wake up! Woo! Okay. The scene column, which is on Mondays in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, has lots of pictures of people taken at various soirees and nonprofit events, charitable events to raise money and blah, 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 blah. And today being Monday, I checked out the scene column, and there were plenty of pictures of women, and none of them were doing that. So I just want to say that maybe I don't need to involve you. Maybe I overstated it. I don't know, because there was the first scene column since I'd made that remark, and nobody was standing like that. So just wanted to say that. Also, I just saw on Twitter, right before the show started, and I'll have to read it later, that the New Yorker this week has a very big profile article about a young woman from here who is attempting to unseat a member of the state legislature, the New Yorker. But they chose Summer Lee, and some of you have seen her campaign. What do you call those? Placards, billboards? What do you call them? Signs. Sign would do perfectly well around, or maybe you haven't, but I have. She's taking on one of the Costas, of which there are too many to name. Paul Costa, I believe, who has served as the state representative in the district that includes Braddock for a long time. And she is a young African-American woman, Summer Lee. And she is waging, for the first time, and this is tomorrow, guys, election tomorrow, she is attempting to unseat him in the primary. Now, I have to tell you, I don't believe he's had a challenge in God knows how long. You don't challenge Costas around here in primaries. You just don't. They're too big a political family. Their name recognition alone. People just see Costa. They don't even know which Costa it is. They vote for him. So Summer Lee, who, by the way, is the candidate for the Socialist Democrats. Is that the Democratic Socialists? Something like that. And she'll say, I don't know, you want to call me a socialist? Call me a socialist. People But this is Bernie Sanders mold. Socialist, very progressive, more progressive than Paul Costa, who she's running against anyway. So the New Yorker has done a really extensive, big, more so than anything I've seen in the local media, which again, I have to say, I'm getting a little sick and tired of finding out stuff about my hometown from national sources that I should have gotten from local news. And maybe I missed it, but I don't know. The other one recently was that incredible story, might have been in the New York Times or the Washington Post, about the Republican state representative. All these stories take us back to Harrisburg. We're just not covering it. We're not covering local politics here. About the Republican female House member who has actually a bodyguard by her side every inch of the way from the time she parks in the garage at the state capitol to the time she then goes home. She has a guard from the Sergeant at Arms office by her because she has a protection from abuse order against another member of the House who just sits about 6 rows down from her in the House chamber. I mean, that's incredible. A guy who has refused to resign, even though she's not the only woman accusing him of frightening and violent sexual abuse. But the Republicans in Harrisburg are not forcing him out because, after all, if he just hangs in for a little while longer, he'll get his pension and health care for the rest of his life, paid for by you. So I'm sick of reading those stories in other publications. That should have been a page 1 huge story in the Post-Gazette. Summer Lee should have this kind of heavy, but they just don't do it anymore here. And I got to tell you, it's scary. That is scary. And she's not the only one. She's not the only story here. You've got Dom Costa, who, I don't know why they're gunning for the Costas, but they are. Dom Costa, I don't know if it's Paul's cousin, I think, who is being primaried by, I want to say her name is Inamorata. It's like I think it might be Inamorata, and I'm seeing a lot of her signs up in Stanton Heights, which I drive through often. And I think he's running scared, so that he's trying to tell Republicans in the primary tomorrow to write him in on the Republican side so that he could maybe get the Republican nomination and still run in the general against her. So wow. So we got this, this is the kind of sort of grassroots stuff that you keep hearing about that has happened as a result of, we know what and who. And this energy coming from people who have never run for political office, who are getting in. Now, how many will end up being victorious, I don't know. But if they stick to it and keep on coming, eventually they are going to start whittling away at the stranglehold that the incumbents have had in Harrisburg. And we know that the incumbents in Harrisburg are overwhelmingly white male Republicans or white male Democrats, a few and far between, but there they are. Okay, so just pointing that out, if any of you want to eyeball that, increasingly, if you want your local news, you have to look at national publications. God. Okay. Now, I know the big story today about the dedication of the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem. As I left home, I turned on some of the cable stations, and they were all showing it in the same way, which, of course, will upset Trump, which is it was a split screen. On one side is, the festivities, the goings on at the dedication in Jerusalem with us, that'd be Americans, being represented by Ivanka and Jared. And so there's that picture on one side, and then on the other side, there's mayhem occurring on the Gaza border, and a lot of people, a lot of Palestinians dying today in that, which I'm sure it was obviously the intent to draw any positive news or whatever away. I mean, everybody's a marketing expert now. I mean, this is what it's all about. But I have to tell you, one of the things that I also had the misfortune of seeing an American minister give I don't know, was it a benediction? I guess it was a benediction or something at this Jerusalem event. And, I mean, are you aware of who this guy is? So this is who the State Department, or Trump, I don't know, chose. Let me find some, just so I get it all correct here. The guy who did it is this pastor, Robert Jeffress. If you watch Fox News, you've seen him, because the good pastor is a contributor to Fox News and has a mega church in Dallas, and he is a brimstone, Baptist, and he's a good buddy of the President of the United States. So he got up and led a prayer at this dedication ceremony of the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem, which, by the way, I have seen that building more than once in my life, because I've been to Jerusalem a few times, and they haven't built a new embassy. This was a building that has always been there. That is, what's underneath an embassy? Can't think, but that's what it was. So the embassy, our embassy, was in Tel Aviv. And this was just, it's not that big. It's a, nice building, a lot of security around it. And so now they're, instead of being whatever that name is I can't think of, it's now being called the embassy. And I mean, it does. I mean, if you put your embassy where the country who you're placing the embassy in, where their government is located, in that regard, it makes sense to put it in Jerusalem, because if you've ever been to Jerusalem, that's where their government is. That's where, if you want to go see like their Congress, the Knesset, you go to Jerusalem. If you want to go to the Supreme Court there, you go to Jerusalem. So the Israeli government is in Jerusalem. And in that regard, countries refusing to acknowledge that and keeping their embassies in another city is, well, again, it's all statecraft. Anyway, this jerk who got hired to do the dedication is a guy who has said that Jews are going to hell. How do you ask somebody who says because Jews are Jews and not Christians They're going straight to hell. How do you have him give the like opening prayer thingamajig at this Israeli event, which is, of course, the only Jewish state in the world? How do you ask somebody who? So he's looking at all these Jews in front of him, and he might be saying, "And we dedicate," but he's thinking, "You're all burning in hell." And that's not. I mean, that's not all. That's not all. This guy thinks everybody's burning in hell, but him and others who subscribe to whatever kind of Christianity it is that he subscribes to. He has said more revolting, unbelievable, slanderous things about Islam. Whew. I mean, he's been easy on the Jews next to what he's done to the Muslims. He's called them pedophiles. They're going straight to hell. I mean, they're on the express train. The Jews might get a local. I don't know. And I guess Mitt Romney's bouncing off the walls because he said the same about Mormons, called it a cult. If you're Hindu, if you're Buddhist, if you're anything other than, I think, a Baptist, you are going straight to hell. He's called Muhammad a bloodthirsty warlord. Why would you? I mean, again, if statecraft is all about optics and marketing and what? Oh, and of course, I needn't tell you. I mean, he recoils at the thought of homosexuality. I mean, homosexuals are going straight to hell too, even if you are. Why would you ask a guy like this? I'm asking, I don't know, probably Trump, the State Department, whoever, Bolton, whoever, whatever genius came up with putting this hateful man. And then I was interested in seeing if at the end he would, of course, say something about Jesus. Now, granted, the Jerusalem is a place Jesus, he died there. And he did. He ended it with, "We ask this in the name of our Savior, Jesus Christ." And what I wanted to, I got to tell you, that doesn't go over well with a bunch of Jews. It just doesn't. If you're doing a prayer, could we, not just specify one religion, which leaves us out? And what drives me crazy is if this Pastor Robert Jeffress is right, that you have to believe in a certain kind of Christianity to get to heaven, then I got news for him. Jesus isn't there because he died a Jew. Last time I looked. I don't know. It so pissed me off this morning. I know other people have bigger fish to fry in this, but it so pissed me off. I don't know. Barbara writes, she was watching it too. He actually did not look at the audience. I said, why would he look at all these people who are doomed to be burning in hell, in another decade or two? No, he didn't look. You're right. He didn't look at the audience at all. He had his eyes closed in a kind of reverie. Yeah. Unbelievable. And other than that, forgive me if I don't wade into the horrors that are going on there right now. It's an implacable problem. I personally do think it is legitimate for Jerusalem to be the capital of Israel. I mean, historically it was, biblically it was. All you got to do is go there and walk into the old city, and if that ain't a Jewish city from thousands and thousands of years ago, I don't know what the hell is. Just saying. And if being there first is any, I'm just saying. The first time I did go to Israel was 1963. And Israel was, we were in Jerusalem, but I didn't get anywhere near the old city, the walled city, because there was a big gate there manned by Jordanian soldiers, and there was no going in if you were a Jew. So I remember being that close to the old city of Jerusalem and thinking, how? I can't believe we can't go there. My God. Jews pray at, we say at the Passover Seder, next year in Jerusalem. It's a dream that's, in every Jew's heart. So to be that close, but not be able to really go there. Anyway, I just want to point out, by the way, that the Jordanians holding Jerusalem was ridiculous. If you think the Jews having access to it is somehow ridiculous, then you'd have to explain why the Jordanians were holding it. Nobody recognized their right to hold onto Jerusalem, except the Brits. But if you know anything about the British in Palestine, it is not a pretty picture nor story. But the world generally did not acknowledge Jordanian rights. I mean, if anybody had a right, it was Israel. It's ridiculous to think otherwise. I'm sorry, but it's ridiculous to think otherwise. And so 4 years after I stood there at that gate in disbelief, there was a war. The infamous 6-Day War. And Israel took the rest of Jerusalem. So I have now been to the inside. I cannot tell you how astonishing a place it is and how you should go. For Christians, it blows you away, I'm sure. It just blows you away. Jews, blows you away. The history there for those two religions and for Muslims, but not quite as much. But to me, I mean, it's just, you're walking on those stones and you got to figure, man, Jesus, if you're Jesus was right here. You walk into the Church of the Holy Sepulchre and you think, they say he was buried right there. I say that because it's a lot of apocryphal stuff where things get pointed that this is where that happened. But there is no doubt that as you make your way around there, the Mount of Olives and all, it's all right there. It's just there. So if you're a Christian, and in the times I've been in Israel, it's quite clear that the tourist trade there is, I think now, overwhelmingly Christian. Anyway, I do want to say that while Israel is just nothing now, but under Netanyahu, it's so sad, and it breaks my heart. I do say that Jerusalem would be the capital of Israel if the world hadn't gone stark raving nuts about Israel in general. So that's all I'm saying. And something else happened regarding Israel yesterday that was mind-blowing to me, and that is, you've heard of this Eurovision thing. It's like American Idol, only much bigger, in which it started with only European countries, each putting in a group of singers or somebody. And it's a song contest. And, the whole the whole continent is glued to their sets watching this competition. And the people, there are judges, but ultimately people vote. So you got Austrians voting, Cypriots voting, Germans voting, English voting, French, Greek. People from all over vote. And unbelievably, a Israeli teenager. No, she's not. She's 25. A young Israeli woman won. With voting by people from all these other countries that supposedly despise Israel. It confuses me. Because if Israel was so despised, if we were now so tribal, no one would vote for an Israeli. You wouldn't want the Israelis to have the Jewish word is nachas. You wouldn't want them to be able to say, oh, it's wonderful. She won. And it was a feminist song called Toy, T-O-Y. And I haven't heard it yet, but I'm sure it's out there. And the New York Times describes it as a defiant anthem about female empowerment. But she's an Israeli. And people from countries who despise her country voted for her. It makes, to me, that's a moment of wonderfulness. That somehow this did not become political. Because if it were political, no Israeli would win. And they say it was sort of a Me Too themed song. It was in Lisbon this year. The country of whoever wins gets the contest next time around. So Eurovision, this huge, huge thing, is going to be in Jerusalem next year. We'll see if countries boycott it. I don't know. And I know technically Israel is not a European country. But and I was confused by that, but as it turns out, you don't have to, other countries, it's gotten so big. Australia's in it. And Israel has won it before. They had actually a streak in the 70s before the world decided they were evil incarnate. 1978 and 79, Israel won. And then they won again in 80-something. No, 98. And so this is, wow. And the Times does say the victory was all the more astonishing because Netta Barzilai, that's the woman's name, was catapulted into first place by the popular vote. This global popular vote. And she was representing one of the most unpopular countries in the world right now. So, yeah, I don't know. Israel's really in the news today. Okay, let's get off of that. Do you have that picture? Can we put that up? I won't assault your if you're looking at this. Let me know when it's up there. I came upon a picture on the internet yesterday, Mother's Day, that was so appalling. I thought it was a joke. I thought it was a is it up? Okay, you look at that. That is Mary Trump. Trump's mother. And I guess someone put a picture of him next to it. Is that up too? Yeah. Just trying to, because, I mean, you see her hair and you think, oh my God, that's where, he got the idea or something. And he looks just like her. But it looks so much like him in a frightening kind of a way. I showed it to my son, and he said, that can't be real. And in this day and age, you have to, be careful. And I thought, but I think it is. I mean, I have seen other pictures of her, not that old and not that unflattering a picture, but I think that's her. Will you look at that? Oh. And he, by the way, I guess yesterday tweeted or talked about his mother on Mother's Day and, said all the kinds of things that you're supposed to say, I guess, or not. That would be incredible if he had. Never mentioned his wife, the mother of his child, who he doesn't seem to acknowledge either, Barron. Have you ever seen, somebody pointed out, have you ever seen a picture of Trump with Barron in anything other than some stage thing where they're both stiffly not interacting at all? Have you ever seen a picture of this man interacting, showing affection for his son, Barron? Because if you have, I wish you'd send it to me, because I never have. Unbelievable. Okay, you can take it down. I think it's too horrific to, sorry. I should have warned you. You know how they warn you on the news? If you are easily upset you might want to leave the room. Okay. Chuck writes, I am one of those who currently lives in Connor Lamb's old 18th district, but in the fall, Connor Lamb is running in the new 17th district, where I don't live. Now, in the new 18th district, that is now Connor Lamb's, but it won't be in another few months, there are no Republicans on the primary ballot. Really? Well, it doesn't mean there won't be a Republican in the general. Only 2 Democrats. Mike Doyle. Oh, it's Mike Doyle. So Doyle now, that's where he is. That's where he is? In the 17th? Really? Does that mean I'm in the 17th? Because he's my guy. He represents me. Am I in the 17th now? I don't even know what district I'm in. What? Mike Doyle and Janice Brooks. It is easy to get confused. Well, I really don't know. Everybody, go to the polls tomorrow, if only to see what the hell district you're. Well, actually, you're still in whatever the old district is. No, but these the candidates will, in the primary, are for the new districts. Well, it is confusing. Anyway, Chuck wants to remind people that there are other races. Yeah. There's governor, lieutenant governor, senator, Pennsylvania House. Listen, guys, if we haven't figured out that it is not those biggies that are important, it is the state house races. It is who sits on the party committee who ends up choosing and endorsing candidates. It is at the lowest level, and that happens in these unspectacular elections tomorrow. If you don't vote tomorrow, I'm never speaking to you again. I don't know how I'll carry that out, but I'm not. Damn it. This is where, if you want to know why you can't find a Democrat in Harrisburg, it is because Democrats don't go to the polls in these elections. This election tomorrow is important. As I've said, you vote Democrat, you vote women. And you just don't vote for white men if you can. I'm serious, and I'm sorry, white guys, and I know that's no way to vote. But right now it is. In this moment, it is. I don't know. I'm in a mood. Hey, here's some happy news. And one of you alerted me to the fact a long time ago. But for those of you who watch American Idol, which I did mention because of Eurovision thing, American Idol, I only watched about a half hour because I just really... Anyway, they're down to just 3 people. And you know who one of them is? A teenager from Munhall. Yeah. Her name's Gabby or something. Gabby. And she looks like she should be on Fox News. I'm sorry, but she's a pretty blonde. And seems much older than... She's in high school. What the hell? I'm not sure what high school, if you're in Munhall, where you go. But there she is. And she could win, obviously. She's one of 3. She's gotten this far. So just saying. And I guess because when you get this high, they do something. She's giving a free concert sometime this week, right? At the Casino Amphitheater. Don't ask me. Just saying. You might want to look it up if you want to check her out. Yeah, and little Tony says, oh my God, that picture. He said, I wish I could unsee it. I'm sorry. It was a nasty thing to do on a Monday morning. Gabby Barrett, her name is. And wait, I'll get you a little information having said that. So Gabby Barrett is, and she's like a country singer. What about her? So she's doing this concert Tuesday, tomorrow. Just like that? Just like that. Tomorrow at 7. It's free. So be there, be square, and obviously be there early, and let's hope it doesn't thunderstorm on her. But there you have it. And speaking of that area and entertainment and rain and stuff like that, it was so wonderful having McCutcheon back. So there was the Cutch at PNC Park, wearing the wrong uniform. And what was a riot is, the crowd so loves him that he, standing ovation. And though I watched the game, I think Saturday night, which was rain delayed. And he cracked a double. Yeah, I think. Yeah. And the crowd was, hey, they're cheering. And I remember thinking, okay, enough cognitive dissonance here. He's now the go-ahead run, Pirate fans, for the Giants. I know we love him, but you don't have to cheer when he gets on second base and, in fact, ended up scoring, and they went ahead, but they ended up losing. Yay. So, but boy, do we love him. And what a class act. I just have to, I just love the guy. Okay, Brooks says, I'm in the new, okay. You are still in the 18th. You're sure of that, Lou? I'm still in the 18th, okay? And Brooke says, I'm in the new 14th. How can anybody keep straight? We have 4 Democrats on the primary and 2 Republicans on the ballot. Oh, you got that Rick Saccone Guy Reschenthaler race. Oh, and God, thank God, tomorrow it'll be over. Those horrible commercials. I mean, the political commercials. I really run screaming from the room. I mute my television. I cannot take it. They are so disgusting. Anyway, Brooke wants to say, to the people in the new 14th, please choose someone who can beat Saccone or Reschenthal. I think Reschenthal is going to win the nomination. The League of Women Voters website will show you your ballot in advance. Take a look. That's now, I don't know what the 14th is redrawn is considered a toss-up district now, or is it pretty much still a red district? I don't know. Ed says, this website has all the information any voter will need tomorrow. It is www.vote411.org. Vote411.org. It'll show you preview the ballot. And, okay, vote411.org. Please, please, please. And you know what it's going to be. The turnout tomorrow will be as abysmal as ever. We're going to, Amy's posting a link as we speak to my Facebook, okay? So it'll be there. By the way, Amy is posting a lot of stuff to my Facebook page, which is it just Lynn Cullen? It's Lynn Cullen something. Do you know? How do you even get to it? Just Lynn Cullen? Okay. I hate being the old lady, okay, just Lynn Cullen. Anyway, when we talk about something on the show or maybe an article or something, often it's there. So it's an easy way to access some of the stuff that we've been talking about. Okay. I think I got that. Oh my God, I have to do this. Over the weekend, I think it was Friday night, actually, the president's supposed babysitter, that would be his chief of staff, John Kelly, was interviewed on NPR. And my God, he's vile. I'm sorry, guys. He's vile. So they're talking about immigrants. And he said this. This is a quote about immigrants. They are not people that would easily assimilate into the United States, into our modern society. They are overwhelmingly rural people in the countries they come from. 4th, 5th, 6th grade education, kind of the norm. They don't speak English, they don't integrate well, and they don't have skills. That's what he said. And then somebody, namely a woman named Jennifer Mendelsohn, did something wonderful. She looked up Kelly's ancestry. And here's what she found. The 1930 census shows that his great-grandparents were living with his daughter, with their daughter, son-in-law, and grandchildren, one of whom was Kelly's mother. Okay, so in 1930, Kelly's mom was living with her grandparents, along with, that was a family, as often was the case, multiple generations living together. And they were from Italy. And his mother's grandfather had been in this country for 47 years. He immigrated from Italy. He was not yet a citizen. The census shows that. He had never become a citizen. His wife had been here for 37 years and spoke no English, because all that's on the census. So his people came in, yeah, this is the way it was, and came in, and they begot a guy who sits right next to the President of the United States, but they never became citizens. His great-grandmother never learned English, even though she'd been here for 37 years. And then they dig even deeper. There's a 1910 census showing another great-grandfather, Giuseppe Pedalino, and his second wife, Conchetta. He was a wagon driver, no skills, and she was illiterate and could not speak English 10 years after her arrival. Okay, this is just to tell these SOBs who make these disgusting statements, looking down their noses at people who are every bit like their grandparents, like their great-grandparents. And that's what America is. Uneducated, unskilled people come to our country, and within a generation or two, beget extraordinarily successful people. That is what has made America strong. And then there's this horror show, the woman from that blonde babe, Tommy Lauren? I didn't even know how to pronounce it. Tommy. And she also was making statements. That's not what this country is about. A bunch of people, just because they want to come, being able to come here and not contribute. So somebody dove into her ancestry. And yeah, the immigrants that she comes from came here, illiterate, not speaking English. We're here for decades, still didn't speak English, still illiterate. I'll tell you, mine did better than that. What are they thinking? What are these idiots thinking, from Kelly to her? These Republicans, these people who are anti-immigrant. What are they thinking? And are they thinking that these poor, the huddled masses yearning to breathe free, who now come here, and not on an easy way, they don't take jets in, I mean, risking their lives, risking separation from their children, which is another thing we do, which is so repulsive and so cruel. And to make statements like John Kelly made, or like this idiot made, is to show such an astonishing ignorance of our nation's history and of the uniqueness of this country. I can try to find the idiotic thing she said. It's, you can't make it up. You can't make it up. They're just filled with hate, is what it is. Hate and fear. Here's what she said. Tommy Lauren. This was on Fox. She says, "You don't just come into this country with low skills, low education, not understanding the language. Come into this country because someone thinks it makes them feel nice. That's not what this country is based on." That's a direct quote. That's exactly what this country is based on. can they profess to be proud Americans? What are they proud of? What is it they're proud of? I don't even understand that. By the way, just because I just got that off my Twitter account, I noted another thing that I saw over the weekend, which is just so unbelievable, and again, emblematic of the horror show that is now the executive branch of our country. The White House decided to have some kind of a military spouse appreciation event or something. And so they invited and hosted a whole bunch of people whose spouses are in the armed forces. And then they took this big, huge picture of the group. Can I send this to you too? And could you put this up? Is that possible? All right. Hang on. And I'm trying. And there is not a non-white person visible. It's this huge, huge, huge group, and not anything but a bunch of white people. White women, it looks like, to me. Okay, as soon as Amy gets it, she can set it up. And this is while our armed forces, who these women, I guess, were representing at the White House, our armed forces are 40% non-white. Brown and black and yellow, if we want to use those stupid terms, okay? Brown and black and yellow. But they ain't white. 40%. And this picture is nothing but white people. And that can't be some kind of an error. That can't be some kind of I guess this is for some reason, only white women showed up. And also by having this had to have been if you were doing spouses, thanking spouses of our armed forces, why would you just have women? I don't get that either. Because there's so many women in the armed forces serving away from their families, and it's their husbands who are holding down the fort at home. Or what? How do you get an appreciation day for spouses of our armed forces, and that's what you get? A whole bunch of white women. No men? And I mean, maybe it was just, but why would you do that? Because our armed forces, I don't know what percentage are female, but it's sizable and growing. And 40% are non-white. And yet this is the picture. Did you ever get it, Amy? You never got it. All right. Well, the hell with it. If you ever do, stick it up. But, I mean, I don't know. There are so many things I just shake my head about all the time. And this, the fact that have I said his name today? I said Mary Trump. I don't think I said his. Anyway, how he infects our lives. I mean, I was at a funeral this weekend. And talking to people who, I didn't know, but who came up to me and we were talking, and we're talking about him at a funeral. Just can't get away, can't escape. It's amazing, really amazing. And then there's this weird thing Trump did. He tweeted over the weekend, President Xi of China and I are working together to give massive Chinese phone company ZTE a way to get back into business fast. The reason they went out of business is our we had trade, restrictions because they were messing with American manufacturers' ability to sell their products, exactly what Trump wants. And then they came crying to him saying, we had to close that entire facility. And Trump tweets, too many jobs in China lost. Commerce Department is instructed to get it done. Wait a minute. Who is he the president of? Now he's the president of China as well as Russia? What is this? The fact of the matter is just a day ago, the Commerce Department, along with the rest of the government, was aligned against this very company. The reason being, the CIA, the FBI, the Department of Defense, and other of our intelligence agencies have warned the White House that ZTE are a threat to our security because they embed some kind of thing into the phones they make. They make phones. Their technology, their phones, pose a major cybersecurity threat. That's what our own agencies tell us. And then Trump puts restrictions on them and a whole bunch of other people. They can't continue to make their phones without stuff from us. So they stop production. And then the president of China calls Trump and says, and Trump says, well, my God, we can't have a bunch of Chinese getting thrown out of work. We got to fix that. So does this president have a effing clue about what he's doing? Does he understand the consequences of anything he does? Because he is so quick to just turn on a dime and undo something when he realizes what it has done. And often he's just wrong. He's wrong all the way through. But this is something that happened as a result of his restrictions, which people in our intelligence community were happy about. So he's ordered it redone. We got to get those poor Chinese people back to work. God knows that is what the president of the United States should be worrying about. As for you American workers who are out of work, go figure. Unbelievable. Okie doke, that's it from me. Tomorrow I'll be back and we'll have Susan with us and maybe we'll have a more uplifting program. I certainly hope so myself. Have a great day.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.